Yo, what's good, y'all? All right, we're here. We're live. What's good, man? About to get it in. Just another day, another live stream. Is Wednesday, January 8th. Live streaming from Phoenix, Arizona. We're gonna watch a couple videos today. I know there's a wildfire in California. I don't know much about it, so I want to watch some live coverage. So we're going to get into that. Not much else going on. I got a couple other videos queued up, so let's get right into it, y'all. So just some live coverage of the... I don't think this is live coverage. This is actually just about the fire. So let's check this out. Look like my audio is working. Give me a second, y'all. I was just watching it. Let's see.
Hello, Internet. If you're a music producer and you...
That works. So why doesn't this have audio? Let's see.
Continuing
technical difficulty.
you can
Here
see
we
this
go.
fire almost anywhere. And Michael, as we're seeing, pretty much the same problem they had with the Franklin fire in Malibu. The smoke is the issue. The smoke is laying down out there. It's hard for choppers to get in. It's hard for the aerial assault. It's hard for people to see where they're going.
Yeah, well, this firefight obviously continues. An update on the acreage here from 200 to 300 acres. We just got there from LAFD about 10 or so minutes ago. They have 45 fire companies from LA City Fire alone, which equates to about 200 city firefighters on this. We have fixed wing aircraft from Cal Fire. So again, putting as many resources as possible on this fire in the Palisades.
And it bears repeating, you know, PCH, which is a main thoroughfare out there, is shut down. It's closed between Temescal Canyon and Las Flores Canyon Boulevard. Also Topanga Canyon, that route that goes really from Malibu into the valley and the 101, that is closed except for evacuation orders there. The westbound 110 at the McClure Tunnel is also closed to prevent some of the traffic jams out there that we saw early on.
That kind of
we
just
also heard from an officer with the CHP who says possibly
like
a possible closure.
Versus like live coverage. Let me see.
Los Angeles is currently experiencing an extreme fire weather condition with red flag alert. Currently, the fire is at 1,261 acres and growing based on aerial reconnaissance. The fire is being fueled by a combination of strong winds and surrounding topography, which is making it extremely challenging for our personnel that are assigned to this incident.
Crazy.
By no stretch of the imagination are we out of the woods. You heard a chief say 10 p.m. tonight till 5 a.m. tomorrow will be peak winds. And having just quite literally an hour or so ago gone up the canyon and saw firsthand the impact of these swirling winds and the embers and the number of structures that are destroyed, not a few, many structures already destroyed, and the fact that people were still not evacuated, still did not heed the warning, we're just coming down the canyon, is a reminder of how serious this moment is and how important it is you listen to these evacuation orders.
That's crazy. I don't know.
Okay, so the next tool I want to show you is called Highlight. Absolutely love the approach they
I guess you just hope it doesn't happen to you, right? So it'd be like, why wouldn't you want to evacuate? You know what I mean? It's crazy. Well, I'm thinking like, you could not evacuate and just hope that it doesn't hit your house, or hope your house doesn't catch on fire, or evacuate. And it's like, I think in that situation, I don't know, I don't know what I would do. I don't know if I would just want to evacuate or, stick around and try to save your stuff. You know what I mean? I guess that's what makes it hard. That's crazy. Let me see if we can get some more kind of info on it.
Leave the rest up to the professionals. The best thing I can do is get out of everybody's way and get down to this beach. I'm currently staged at the huge empty parking lot on Temescal Canyon and PCH. I would suggest anybody who wants to meet people would come down here and meet their loved ones here, because there's lots of access.
Thank you, sir.
Did you get any of that? Oh, you're famous.
Man, that's crazy, all that smoke. I don't know why they showed dude like that. I get it. But damn, that looks crazy. Damn, I wonder how my homie's doing out there. I know a few people out there in Southern California. Crazy. This is just like live footage of the fire. That's crazy. Looks like they show footage just for a while, huh? Man. Trying to see if they're gonna have like the fire department or somebody talk here pretty soon. Crazy. See if we can't get sound again. I don't know why it does that on the live video. Like it'll just stop. The sound will stop. So that's probably a no-go. Man, can't really get. Well, I'm just not finding a better news source to see kind of what's going on.
They're on the 10 freeway at the 4th Street exit. So again, this is something that may or may not come down later on, but we, of course, will keep you updated on what is happening. Again, a split screen of what's happening here at the Palisades right now, a 300-acre plus fire burning as our coverage began just after 11 o'clock here this morning.
Two of the neighborhoods that seem to be affected the most from what we're seeing is Lockman Lane. We saw at least 2 homes destroyed there. One was gone. That's where we saw that major gas leak this afternoon. That was in the 13th 1300 block. Also Glen Haven and Lockman. That's where our Alex Rozier was standing by, showing people, some of them trying to get out of the area, and some of them, as you pointed out, trying to stay and save their homes.
Right, you know, and we also had Carmen Dickerson, who actually, to some degree, parked their car, drove, or actually walked up, I believe it was Lockman Lane. She mentioned that she saw about 3 other homes that had been either damaged or destroyed as she made her way up to her live shot there at the 1300 block of Lockman. We're getting a new update now. Winston, can you give me that one more time?
What's the number? Wow.
772 acres, this coming now from CAL FIRE.
That has more than doubled since we talked about it, what, 20, 25 minutes ago?
Right.
We have with us on the phone right now,
It's really
Lacey
windy,
Nori.
too.
She's a friend of one
It's
of our
really windy
reporters
out here in
Brittany
Arizona.
Hope, who was in the
Like
area.
last night was
Brittany,
crazy.
Sorry. Nuri, are you with us? Lacey,
Hi, how are you? Yes.
I think I ran the gamut on names there, didn't I? All right.
That's okay. It's all right. I respond to anything.
Okay, good, good, good. Well, thanks for joining us. Talk to us about your experience out there today.
I'm around 40. See out my window what looks like plumes of smoke. LA native, pretty to what fire looks like. So to my husband, said, "Hey, there's a brush fire near
her
us."
audio's cutting
I
out.
think it was on New
It's just bad audio all around today. But yeah, man, that's crazy. So yeah, if you guys are out there in Southern California, be safe, man. That's crazy. I know they always have wildfires, but this is a big one. They said the last thing that we were watching right there, they said 1,000 acres are on fire. So, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, I just wanted to get into that. I wanted to kind of see what was going on. And we got some other videos we're going to react to. So this one right here, this video is called These New Music Producers Are Lame as F. And it's a funny title, right? It's like a clickbaity title. But I want to see what he's talking about and see kind of what his take is on this particular topic. I haven't watched this video, but I did see someone start reacting to this video. But I'm going to go ahead and just do my own reaction. So this is a live reaction. I haven't watched the video. We'll check it out now. The name of the channel is Roro, or RORO. And again, these new music producers are lame as F. Let's see what he's talking about.
A loop from Splice and put it in a project file, leave it as is. Take a
Is that how we starting?
Hello, Internet. If you're a music producer and you take a loop from Splice and put it in a project file, leave it as is. Take a drum break that you found, put it in a project file, leave it as is. Is that your beat? Are you an artist? Are you a music producer? I would say it's complicated. You know, I think something like taking a splice loop, putting it in a project file, a lot of people would say that's not really beat making. You know what I mean? But if you were to take a vinyl record, record an 8-bar loop, put it into a project file, and then somebody raps on it, you're a godlike producer, you know? So I think there's a lot of hypocrisy in the realm of making beats.
Oh, wow. Okay. I see where he's at with it. Huh. So, like, if you're using loops from Splice versus creating your own loops, which is how me and my homies used to do it, or I don't know if they still do it like that. I know I still do it like that, but basically, you know, instead of like records, we get it from like YouTube or MP3s or whatever. But back in the day, we pretty much all of us had record collections, you know what I mean? That's where we got all of our loops. But he's saying like it's hypocrisy to say like, oh, I can get a loop from a record, make a beat, and that makes me a producer. But you can't get a loop from Splice and make a beat and still be a producer. Something along those lines. I think I'm picking up what he's putting down. But yeah, that's this video is probably going to be funny.
I think there's a lot of valid opinions on both sides. So I kind of wanted to just talk about that today. So when I first started,
I'm going to just say that I think that using like a DJ, I know he probably has a Pocket 3, or I think the Osmo does it too, but that follow thing, I don't like it. I don't like when it follows the person everywhere. It just looks really unnatural. But anyway, side note, my bad.
Beats. This was like early 2010s. There was a bit of a revival of like kind of 90s boom bap music production with like vinyl samples and like kind of swinging drum grooves and stuff like that. You know, like Jay Dilla, Stones Throw Records, Pro era, Joey Badass, like that kind of era. And it was basically not allowed for you to sample stuff from YouTube. And that's something that I would do often with my friends. But it was sort of like a taboo, you know, like people didn't really think that that was like acceptable in like the real music producer scene. But I did it anyway. And there was even times where I would sample something from YouTube, run it through a cassette, and then resample it into my beat just so that it would sound like I got it from a cassette or like some analog source. But it's like I was just ripping stuff off YouTube. You know, a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And I think the modern version of that is just people using splice loops because sampling from YouTube is just normal now. You know, no one really questions that. But something like a loop pack or like a splice loop, people hear that and they're like, oh, this is, you know, I recognize this loop from this pack. It's like one of the most popular loops on Splice. And now it's in like a Billboard charting song. That's not really fair. But it's like the same people 15 years ago were like, oh, this record has been sampled so many times. Like this producer doesn't know what he's doing. So I think just as time progresses, as technology advances, as the culture changes, people's perspectives change, right? I think if you're a new producer, as a new producer, especially if you have no background in music, it takes such a long time to make something from scratch that like sounds good, that's like acceptable, that you enjoy listening to. So a quick way to get to that point is using loops. So for me personally, I wouldn't use splice loops.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know about loops. I mean, even like, all right, so I've been making beats. Dang, let's see. I made my first beat, I was probably around 17. So we're talking like, I can't even do the math right now, but nah, it's like 25 years or something. Something like that. I think like 25 years. So I think that's when I made my first beat, was like 25 years ago. And then when I made my first beat, I made it on a EPS, which is like a keyboard that's a sampler. So you could sample sounds into this keyboard and then you could play those sounds on the keyboard. Now, you know, this is all because the homie Ryan, or RP, he had this equipment already. So I didn't know how to make beats, but he had this EPS already, and then he also, next to it, he had a drum machine, like a Dr. Groove 202, I think it was called, that just had drum sounds, right? And basically back then, how I learned how to make beats was you would sample a record. So he also had a record player and a bunch of hella records, right? But you would sample a record into the EPS, into the keyboard, and then you would create a sound with that record, right? Now you could sample a record and you could sample a loop, but even back then, 25 years ago, it was kind of like forbidden to just sample and loop that sample, right? Like it was just too easy. Like you could just get any sample, you know, even if you would listen to like old stuff, like listen to like Ice Cube, right? And it's just like a Isley Brothers loop. It's just a loop of the song. So we used to talk about that too back in those days too. We used to, you know, talk shit about beats that were just loops, you know. So like even back then, I wasn't trying to just do loops, but you know, you would still do it every now and then. But I would still add my own flavor to it because, you know, even making beats back then through the EPS, because I was able to change like the pitch of the sample and things like that, or change where the sample looped. That's what we would do. We would just try to get creative with the sample and not just use a loop, you know. But basically, you know, what he's getting at too right now is he's saying, you know, yeah, that's how you guys did it back then. And we still had our kind of like purity stuff back then. We were like, that's not a real hip hop beat if you don't do it this way. You know, it evolved, and it got to the point where it's at now where, now it's regular. Now it's normal to sample off of YouTube, which back then we didn't have YouTube back then, but not like we have it now. But back then, we used to just only sample from records, right? But then CDs became the norm. And instead of having like this huge record collection, it just made sense to just do it with CDs. So then we would start sampling off of CDs, and I'm sure there's people out there who would be like, yo, that's not the right way to do it. But we were doing it. And that was probably 20 years ago, something like that. So now with the splice thing, I don't know. I don't know how to I get that, nobody uses CDs anymore, right? So how are you really going to get these samples or, like analog samples? So you get it from YouTube, right? But then he's trying to say I think what he's saying is that now splice is kind of should be looked at in that way to where, yeah, you can get samples from splice. And, I agree with it. I think it's cool to use splice samples. I've actually used splice samples, but I always freak them again. So it's the same thing with even when I would sample a record, I'm going to change the way the sample is. I'm not going to just loop it. So I think that's the part that I'm not 100% down with, when people just get loops and then loop it. You know what I mean? All right, let me shut up. See what he talking about.
My beats, but
obviously a topic that I could talk a lot. I could talk about this all day.
I'm also not going to be upset with a new producer who's trying to learn how to make beats and just wants to make something that sounds good. And at the end of the day, if you're making songs, as long as it's a good song, it doesn't really matter how you made it. You know what I mean? It doesn't really make a difference. But I do think it's just a different game now. I really like composing. I have a classical music background. So I'm of the mentality of I like to compose as much of my music as possible. With that said, I do enjoy sampling too. But I consider sampling a different art form than composing. It's all a matter of perspective. This is just how I perceive my own music.
You can use samples to compose too.
But I do think that there's something to art versus business, if you're getting into music to make money and to make it a business, then you're not really going to be maximizing your potential if you're sitting making all your own beats, right? That's going to take a longer time. It's not going to be optimal for business because it's going to take more time. There's more factors, It's harder to make something from scratch that people like as opposed to just something that people already like. I think that's also why sampling old songs in pop music now and popular rap music is it's the meta right now, because people just want to hear something that they already like. It's we're in the Marvel movie remake era of hip hop right now, as far as pop stuff goes, radio hip hop. That's kind of where we're at. And I think that, people can be upset by that, but it's the music industry. It's pop radio. What do you really expect? If you're looking for what
do you expect from the radio? You know what I'm saying? That's the same thing that people would say and were saying about Diddy back in the day, because he was sampling disco records and stuff like that. People would be complaining about it because all they're doing is just sampling old music and looping it, and basically that's how they got listeners, because they knew that music worked already. You know what I mean? So basically people have been doing that for a long time.
Substantial art in music, you shouldn't be going to pop radio in the first place. So it's let those people do their thing. Who gives a fuck? That's my mentality. But yeah, as far as using loops and people being late, people are oh, producers are lazy. I think that there is some truth to that. But I also think that people just don't really know what they're doing, you know? Like, I have friends that are like in the music industry and they're very talented, but they're around people that have no idea what the fuck they're doing. But they're successful because they're good at business. You know, like in order to succeed in the music industry, a large part of it is just being good at business.
Yeah, that's facts.
Like the music is not even like the main thing.
It's really not. I mean, that's the truth. I mean, as far as like, you know, when I was younger and more naive, I used to think that, you know, if I could just be the best artist ever, like if I could just get so good at my craft that I'm just undeniable, that there's no way that I'm not gonna like blow up or have some success in music. And you know, I've had success in music, but you know, again, you have those kind of perceptions because when you think about someone being successful in music, it doesn't look like me, right? It looks like whatever you see on TV for the most part, but that's not really the reality for most people, you know?
Really. But for someone like me, I care a lot about my art. I care a lot about the art that I make, and I want it to be personal and an expression of myself. So it's kind of hard to do that using other people's music, you know, and that's sort of why I've gravitated away from sampling. Again, I love sampling. I got my start making beats sampling records.
Yeah, me too.
But I'm not going to like go around to new people and be like, you're not a real producer because you don't, you know, do what I think you're supposed to do. I think that that's stupid and pretentious. And, you know, it's one thing to like, I'm not even like anti-gatekeeping. Like, I think gatekeeping has its place and is valuable. But for me personally, I just don't really care what other people are doing. You know, like if you're getting mad at somebody else being successful because they used the splice loop in their song and it blew up, it's like, you're just mad at yourself for not doing the same thing. You know what I mean? It's like, again, when has this shit ever been fair?
Never.
When has this shit ever been like all about making good art? You know? But again, you can use a loop and make a good song. It doesn't matter. So I think that people forget that music is art. And a lot of people think of music as just business and a way to make money. And, you know, those people are going to exist no matter what I think, no matter what anybody thinks. So I don't really see the point of getting all that mad about it, you know? If anything, if you hear a song that you like and then you almost feel like you got duped because it's a loop, you're like, oh man, I really liked the song, but now that I know it's a splice loop, I don't like it. It's like, well, maybe you should focus on making music that's better then. You know, don't hear that and get upset about it. Hear that and be like, this is motivation for me to make art that's good. This is motivation for me to make a song that's actually good that I wrote and I composed. You know, whether you're producing yourself, working with a producer, working with an artist like a rapper, singer, whatever it is, just make the best art that you can make. Just ultimately, that's what it comes down to. And for some people, this might be a hot take. For some people, in order to make the best art that they want to make, they have to use loops, at least at the time. You know, like maybe down the road, they'll learn more about scales and keys, keyboards, and like chord progressions and melodies, and then they'll start writing their own music. But if they don't, who cares? It's not for everybody. It doesn't really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with it. I think it's, you know, I think that, you know, if producers want to produce using loops, I think it's fine. I think it's fine to do. I think you should be open about it though too. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm getting beats from you, I'd like to know that they're just loops from Splice. You know what I mean? When I'm like, yeah, because I just think it's weird when I'm like, yeah, he made this beat, but really all you did was you might have organized like the way the beat is, right? But you had all the tracks, you had all the loops. So like when people make beats like that, I don't really consider that producing too much. It's more like DJing almost. But I don't know. That's because really that's not true either. You know what I mean? When you're producing a song, it's more than just making a beat. So like, you know, because there is a difference between a beat maker and a producer, right? So that's another thing. You know, he's really talking about beat makers, it seems like. But if you're a producer, using loops is not necessarily a bad thing, because if you're producing a song, you might need, you know, certain loops, or you may not be. A producer doesn't have to be a beat maker, basically, is, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. A producer doesn't have to be a beat maker. They can just go in there, have the beat already, have a song, and find an artist, put the song together, arrange the song, and they produce that song, right? They don't have to make the beat. So, but yeah, this topic is interesting. I know there's probably hell of people that hate producers that use loops. So I'm sure that's kind of what sparked this video for him.
Difference, you know, like, I'm a big fan of The Alchemist and that style of production, like the sort of like drumless loops, you know, whatever. Yeah. But a lot of times those dudes are just ripping a 4-bar loop from a record and looping it and then maybe pitching it up a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And you could argue that, like, yeah, but they had to find the record and they had to dig and they had to find the spot on the record that was good and loop it, and having an ear for sampling is an art form in itself, which I agree with all of that. But that's not really accessible in the modern day. You know, like vinyl records, sampling vinyl is sort of a niche thing. It's not something that everybody's going to be doing.
It's like a hipster thing now.
You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm just,
yeah, I get it.
My dude rambling about my thoughts on hip hop production. So
that was a cool video, though. I mean, you know, I agree that they should be able to use loops and stuff like that. But, you know, he brought up a good point, because he brought up The Alchemist too. I love Alchemist, and, you know, a lot of his stuff is loops. So they're just like, he's just digging for the sickest breaks, you know what I mean? And then just dropping these sick ass loops on you. But another part about that too is he can get that shit cleared. He has the money or the means to get those loops cleared. So that's another thing. Even when, you know, when I was sampling, making beats, I would always try to change it and not just loop it, because there's also the copyright issue, right? So like, you know, I don't know. The music game is crazy, man. But like, yeah, the whole copyright thing is like, all right, you can't just loop something, because then it's obviously then it's obvious where you got that sample from, and those people can sue you, right? So that's the other problem with just using loops. But that's what Splice did, is they made that to where, okay, well, here's the loops and you guys could just use these without any copyright issues. But I even heard, I've heard people getting caught up for that too. But yeah, craziness. All right, let's see. What do I want to watch here? Check out a couple more videos here. So I do want to see what's going on with this. I haven't watched anything really about this, but I guess Lupe Fiasco is working with MIT to do like some sort of AI rap stuff or AI hip hop. So let's try to figure out what it's all about. Seems pretty crazy, and I know he's been having some pretty intense online debates regarding this. See what they're talking about here. This is Curtis King TV. Lupe responds to the criticism. So buckle up, hey.
Tonight, we dive into the groundbreaking advancements in artificial intelligence.
I wonder if I'm gonna get probably get a copyright strike for all this. All right, hold on. What's this intro? Let me start here. About to get a copyright strike, man.
I love Monday.com.
What's Monday.com?
You don't know
Word.
Monday.com? This is Monday.com.
Nah, it looks whack.
DIYers. Welcome to this special Sunday version of Curtis King Reacts. I wanted to make sure that I reacted to this one because it is fresh on my mind, and I want to make sure that we move into the next week.
React to reaction.
Content or whatever new.
I react to the reactor. Disclaimer. All right, let's see what Lupe said here.
DIY.
Oh, DIYers. I cannot tell you the amount of y'all that hit me up about this news of Lupe Fiasco announcing two platforms or two ideas, one of which is causing a significant amount of controversy because, of course, it's your favorite two letters in the world, AI. And I'm just being sarcastic when I say that. So many of you are skeptical. You have been skeptical of AI. I myself have been critical of some of the people behind AI. And, you know, when we talk about Udio and Suno and the way that they are, you know, that they now, I don't know if you saw the updates, that as they were getting sued, they finally admitted that they were using music that already existed, that they didn't own the rights to train their models. And that's how you got things like BBL Drizzy and so on and so on.
Of course.
That was my issue as an artist, because I'm like, how you just gonna do that without permission and there's no laws in place to stop it? With that said, there's always a healthy amount of criticism, cynicism when it comes to the topic of AI. So as you can imagine, Lupe, who is coming off a year in which I think he released one of the best albums of the year in Samurai, and having it, in my opinion, unfortunately be overshadowed by some of the controversies or the controversial stances that he took, I think that some people were just waiting on another opportunity to get at your mans. With that said, he made an announcement here 4 days ago on his Instagram page announcing two different things. I'm gonna read this right here. So with this pink artwork that says Ryman Shop, Lupe says 2025 we will also see the rollout of two new platforms for Lupe fans, Ryman Shop and Endless Loop. Keep Endless Loop in mind because that's the one that's causing hell. First, Ryman Shop, right? Kind of spelled like ramen, but Ryman Shop is my multimedia creative musical sandbox. Ramen Shop's DCS or data compression services program is small batch. Physical music releases or flavors, okay, available only to holders of Ramen Shop DCS USB cards or bowls. I'll break all that stuff down for you in just second, but I want to continue to read what he put up here. New ramen flavors go into the bowls. The first set of Ramen Shop DCS bowls, version 1 bowls, were released during the Samurai tour. If you were lucky enough to receive one, I highly suggest you hang on to it.
I mean, it sounds kind of cool, but I like Lupe Fiasco, but
it would only way to get the upcoming flavors. So
it's like some limited edition music.
In a nutshell, this Ramen Shop, which it's unfortunate that the story even here that's going to dominate is not this one. He found a really dope way, and I want you to keep this in mind as a reoccurring theme. He found a dope way in which he can use, and I've showed you guys this before, a USB card. And the USB card was a card that was limited run, exclusive run, and you had to buy a certain amount of merchandise in order to get access to this. So it's really direct to consumer, but physical media type situation. On it, he'll put remixes and all these different versions of Samurai, the album that he had. And it was something that required you to go to his shows to look.
See, I think that's tight.
Up on it. Innovative idea, super dope. I'm gonna continue here though. So exclusive music and tons of rewards for going to pop-up events and concerts. All right, so that's that one. Next one is Endless Loop. Let me see if this is actually in here. Where is it at? And now Endless Loop. Okay, so Endless Loop.
That's why you put it last.
Imagine if there was a 24-hour, fully AI-powered radio station trained on all the intricacies of my rapping abilities and was carefully refined to produce the highest quality possible Lupe Fiasco.
Yeah, that's weird.
Now imagine imagine it only played a generated song once and never again endlessly. Now, imagine that radio station was only available for certain periods of time and only in certain locations, and you needed an actual FM radio to hear the songs. Imagine I put together a team. I put a team together at MIT, and imagine we actually built it. Endless Loop coming soon.
I mean, why are people mad about this?
Now, on the surface, I think that most points of views, and you can look in the comments area, were like, this is innovative. This is dope. It's great to see you expanding outside of but outside of the genius of your creative art, the selfless way that you're sharing the art of rapping and the technical skill of rapping and the different places that you're doing this in. People are like, that's dope. The other side of it was, why you over there playing with them folks in AI? Why are you giving access to the culture, giving access to things that we should otherwise be gatekeeping? Why are you giving it to them folks? But I think that that's an assumption really that got driven by a lot of point of views, but really particularly, I think this video by Absa, and shout out to Absa. That's a channel we definitely have shown a lot of love to. Absa, I think, was a Patreon member of mine for some time. So shout out to her. I know she's doing, you know what I'm saying? She's given a point of view that she feels like in which ways this is problematic, right? Whether it's his association with MIT Institute, whether it's just his openness to share his art through the form of AI. This is a video many of y'all hit me up about, and I said, okay, all right, cool. Well, let me watch it. And I watched it. It was rather scathing, to say the least. Rather scathing.
How long is it?
It says Lupe Fiasco's Judas, comparing him to Judas from the Bible, Judas, the one that betrayed Jesus. Lupe's Fiasco's Judas strategy, endless loop. Well, not even a day after this video goes live, Lupe goes live. And I saw this as I was waking up this morning. My Sunday was supposed to be a lot different than today, but I told myself 2025, I'm staying on. Cool.
So he's gonna.
So I screen recorded this live stream. It ran for like 3 hours. I cut it down for you down to 30 minutes to get some of the points, because the points that she brings up, which she's going to respond to the actual video in this video. So it's a response of a response. That's crazy. Whatever. A reaction of a reaction.
That's what's happening right now. This is a reaction of a reaction of a reaction.
And I think a lot of people have a healthy amount of skepticism. And who are you putting these God-given gifts that the culture of hip-hop values so much? Who are you putting this in the hands of, and why? I think he clears up a lot of things, and I think it's worthy of a conversation. So this is directly from my Dropbox. I don't think you can find this nowhere else as it is right now. So peep it out.
Because I made a promise not to be on social media, so I was like, I'm gonna give myself one live this year before I go back to building my shit. I announced January 1st that we will be launching 2 new programs for Lupe Fiasco, and I want to kind of just use this to expound on that and respond to this very sneaky video that this woman just put out, which I will be addressing deeply, and hopefully in that address a bunch of issues that people are having with me personally, but then also the things I'm doing professionally and in the spaces that I'm in. Rhyme and Shop, which is something that I've been building for years, actually. Rhyme and Shop is kind of like my mixtapes, loosies, one-offs, things that don't really fit comfortably on albums, right. Things that aren't really full-length album projects, that don't necessarily require or I think demand or deserve like full-blown marketing things. I don't think it's things that are meant for like the full public. I don't think it's things that the full public would kind of appreciate.
Uh-oh, y'all already starting. That sneaky comment got y'all? Here's the thing about it. This is heavily edited. Telling you right now,
sneaky?
Because as y'all saw in the interview that I had with him,
Yeah, he gonna talk for a long time.
He has a very unique way of getting to that point that he wants to get to, and he wants to make sure that we have all the details and context. This is part of the thing that helps him in his art and the genius in his art, but it's also the part that sometimes can be frustrating, I know, for listeners, as you guys expressed many a times in our interview. But at this point, we haven't even got to the video. He's explaining the first thing, which I think for any independent artist in here, you definitely should be listening up, because it's a dope idea to have a card that people can always update music and don't need the reliance on streaming websites, all that stuff. But let's cook.
For various reasons. Not that it's whack or it's weak or it's watered down. It's just that the nature of it doesn't extend itself to be a full album or anything like that.
You got to make sure you have a fan base for that.
It's called Rhyming Shop, where I could just like just create. And some of the stuff is like practice. Some of the stuff is like very interesting little concepts or little mini concepts and stuff like that. So instead of just kind of having that stuff languishing or laying around, well, not being really used, or just uploading it randomly to YouTube or something like that, like freestyles and stuff, different.
So I just want to hear
before he
him talk about Endless Loop.
I kept that part in there. The context is necessary. I am an artist of 20 plus years. I know artists like the back of my hand, and I know when they're ready to leave and sell all the goods like a going out of business sale. I look at this part of it, and I feel like this is the part that everybody overlooks, because it's not the salacious part, which is the AI. I don't think somebody ready to give up the culture, ready to give in to all, just let them have it all. I don't think that's the actions or behaviors of somebody who wants to give it up. To me, I look at this and I say, this is one step, because as you saw, in which it seems like Lupe's trying to get people to leave their houses. Because you can only charge that card up, not by being in front of your computer, but by going to shows and going to pop-up events. Just something I think that's worthy of bringing up.
Today, it's called Endless Loop. Endless Loop is a fully AI-powered radio station that I've been building for the past couple years since I've been at MIT. So working on it, coming up with different rollouts and plans and projects and stuff like that. I've given 2 talks about Endless Loop in the setting of like, how are artists responding to AI, and what are some ways that artists should be either antagonistic toward AI, that they should be protective of AI, and other places where they should embrace AI, and then what does that look like? Endless Loop was my kind of, if this is me fully.
KJ says I'm giving Lupe a lot of bail. I don't think you understand. I sat there in that 2-hour conversation, and if you saw the frustration that ensued, I am the last person that Lupe probably expects to jump in here and do these videos, but I am somebody that's able to look at this and say, is it a possibility? Is it a possibility? Curtis suffered like Jesus on the cross. Chill, D. Is it a possibility that because of his weird viewpoints on Kendrick and his weird viewpoints on that, just in general of that situation, that some of us, I'll say what I thought was weird. Is it possible that you've already turned a deaf ear to everything he does, and that this is an opportunity to jump all over the man without looking at the opportunity? Never mind. Some of y'all ain't listening to me, but continue.
Autonomous. What does that look like? So let me train a model that we built. When I say we, my team at MIT.
Don't let your fandom blind you is what I'm saying.
Writing model, right? And then we built a Lupe Fiasco kind of style model. So things that I would write. It trained it on my songs, my data, my freestyles, and things like that. And then the music comes from Suno and other places like Music Generation. And then we created a space where you could take the writing, and we trained it on my voice, so it has my voice and different tones and textures and different things like that. And then you take the writing, the voice, the beats, and then we put it in a space where it all can kind of generate together, and it basically just generates Lupe Fiasco records, or Lupe Fiasco sounding records. And then it was like, okay, we can do this. Where does this live?
But I don't know why people are really that upset about that. I mean,
and that's where the decision was like, well, what if it's something that is for free, so you don't have to pay for it? But it's also something
if he wants to do that with his own voice,
can't record. So it's not
what's the issue?
Can be recorded. It's not something that can be like captured or archived. Like once it plays, it's done. You hear it once. So it's very ephemeral. So we're like, well, what if it's a radio station? So we're like, okay, let's create this radio station.
See,
but you could record the radio station.
Video. What I'm getting from this is that the misstep that Lupe possibly made, first and foremost, with that announcement here, is it not coming from his voice first. Because the more that I listen to what this is, it doesn't align with my first impressions of when I saw the news drop. I think that using a press release, using a post on Instagram may serve a purpose for his core audience. But the more that he starts to describe this endless loop, the more that I realize like it's really easy to let a narrative just run. But he should have showed face. This live stream could have done a lot more. Could have done a lot more justice. But
yeah, I mean, I think people would just be making a big fuss out of nothing, man. You know how it be. But yeah, let me see. Probably about to get out here pretty soon. But let's check out this video real quick. This is a video by Daylight. Daylight's a battle rapper from LA. If you guys don't know, basically he put out a song, and it's a response to Joey Badass, because Joey Badass has that song that people are saying is a kind of like a diss track to Kendrick and really the West Coast. So this is Daylight with a response called Hi You. Let's check it out.
Hey, what's happening, fool?
Oh, I'm definitely getting a copyright strike today.
Yeah. Mama said be nice to him. My demeanor going right through him. Credit line to the max. We overstacking though. Steez on my arm. We came for capital. I stump on crowns, I wake up towns. You know my name, boy, I break up clouds. I clear smoke globally. I'm from the era where the scary niggas sit back. But this rap, so who controlling me? My clock's at the western time, but I'm in Brooklyn with the best of the dimes. Like Shorty, I'm one of the best in your city. I made a lot of niggas rest in this city. I left my mind there. They should put a statue of me in Times Square. Yeah. From the side where we ride, know the winners in our pride. Finger twisted, lift it high, go. And I did it for they side too. Wake up in the morning, I say hi you. Okay, chopped cheese, fresh butters, LA hat and Soho with my brother Soul. Told me it's another road, you gotta go east to tackle the beast. I went east to actually feast and came back with 800K in them black bags for lease. They said he couldn't do it cause it's battle rep. Okay, I bought my first mansion with a battle check. Okay, 2 commas around, I let my talent show. Okay, I told you niggas I am not the average. Okay, to my niggas out in Harlem, thanks for all that you done.
Got Joe Biden in the back.
Over the bridge, we tell them don't be dumb. To the uptown, to the downtown, to the midtown, I love y'all.
Yeah, they said, was that I think it was Dumbo though, right? Because I was listening to somebody break this down. They were saying how like he was saying, you know, all my Harlem homies or whatever, tell them niggas don't be dumb. And I thought he was talking about Dumbo when he said don't be dumb, because that's Brooklyn. And then Joey Badass is from Brooklyn.
We tell them don't be dumb.
And they put Dumbo in the video. So I didn't see that when I was listening to the reaction. I didn't see that they had Dumbo in the video, but that's definitely what he was getting at.
To the midtown, I love y'all. The West up, but I never dub y'all. For real. From the side where we ride, know the winners in our pride. Finger twisted, lift it high, go. And I did it for they side too. Wake up in the morning, I say hi you. Okay, you boys had years to show you the best clear. Now it's people in your class that they consider your peers. It must be the bridge that's making these niggas showboat. First week sales mean nothing to the flow goat. 5 years later, 2 diamonds off pure rhyming. Never made a drill track, I never went with the climate. Never followed any trends cause I understood the assignment. Album selling for 5K a piece, 10K if I sign it. They said like could be the best if he had the numbers. Well guess what nigga, I got the numbers. It's time for your block to slumber. They wanna call now, I block the number. You blizzard niggas, we'll squash the tundra. Hunger, I'm from the city where the sun shine clearly, and I mean that. I hope you niggas hear me. If you don't, then it's a dearly departed off of some shit that y'all started. Yeah, we cool, but the feeling's still eerie. Be humble.
There's a beat right there. We were just talking about making beats like that. They said he made that beat. That was cold. I mess with it. Man. Yeah. All right, y'all. I'm about to get up out of here. Tomorrow I'm going to be going to Maricopa to go kick it with the homie Mud. Probably work on some music. So I don't know if I'll be live streaming tomorrow, but thank y'all for joining this live stream. Make sure you comment, like, subscribe, do all that, man. You feel me? And I'm going to holler at y'all next time. Be easy. Yay!